Alrighty everyone, how you guys doing? Long time no see. I know. Last year I done a video and it was pretty much what I wanted to see throughout the year, and since we're in 2013 now, belated Happy New Year. I thought I'd do the same, but I'll do separate videos, and the reason why I'm going to do separate videos is so that it doesn't kind of drag on. So in this video I'm going to specifically talk about the Mac in 2013, what I'd like to see, when we can expect to see, what I want to see. So first up is the Apple Cinema display, or the Apple Thunderbolt display. It wasn't updated last year at all, and just a few minor firmware updates, but no physical refreshes in terms of hardware. So we can expect to see some this year. By some, I really mean one. There's been rumours that the cinema display, the Thunderbolt display, will become thinner like the iMac. You know, thinner is better apparently when it comes to Apple, and no doubt when I compare the new iMacs and the old iMacs, you can definitely notice how crisp or how good the screen actually is. It's less reflective for starters. If you don't trust me, go into an Apple store, go side by side with a Thunderbolt display and the new iMac, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Of course there'll be some other changes. USB 3 no doubt will make its way through, and I hope reasonable price points. At the moment it's $899, and that is just too much. You know, the iMac, the baseline model, isn't too far away from that price point, so I hope they come to their senses and bring the price points to a reasonable level. So up next, the MacBooks. I think this is going to be the year where Apple sit down and say, hang on, we need to just rebrand this because it's just too confusing. It's not Apple like to have such a big lineup when it comes to MacBooks, and they've done this in the past as well. In 2008, I believe, when they released the Mini MacBooks. And the reason why I say they're going to rebrand it is because there is no difference between a MacBook Air, a 13-inch, and the Retina 13-inch MacBook Pro. Of course, the Retina screen is the deal breaker here. So if the Retina model comes to the MacBook Airs, there's no reason to buy a 13-inch MacBook Pro Retina, because you know, the hardware is the same, the graphics, yes, there's a tiny bit of CPU bumpage, but storage wise, you know, RAM wise, it's pretty much on par, and you're paying that excess. Digitime says all the MacBooks this year are going to get Retina displays. If that is true, it doesn't really make any sense. I have a gut feeling Apple aren't going to give the Retinas to the MacBook Airs this year, if they don't intend to rebrand the models. And of course we can expect the new Intel Haswell processors, which are going to be released in end of May, June timeframe. And Digitimes has said again that all the MacBooks are going to get a CPU upgrade. So I think the MacBooks and all the Mac upgrades are going to happen summer onwards. Not to blame Apple for this, because Intel wants to release the chipsets, only then can Apple implement it. The MacBook Air was last updated in the summer, so it's safe to say the MacBook Air 2013s are going to be pretty much on schedule for a summer launch. Moving on to the Mac Pro, for all two of you waiting. There are quite a few actually who are waiting for a Mac Pro, and this last year, although we've seen a new Mac Pro, it wasn't really new because, hey, you know, if it doesn't have USB 3, it's not new. Seriously, I can't believe they've done an update and it still didn't have USB 3. Come on, and they had the cheek to put a new tag on it. But this is a year where Tim Cook apparently says something serious is going to happen with the Mac Pro, whether they diminish the line and say, hey, this is an update for you, or they make the Mac Mini to be the new Mac Pro. No, that's just not going to happen. But in all seriousness, the Mac Pro is due for a refresh this year. What they do with it, will they make it more slimmer? I hope not. Thinner? Or glue it so you can't tinker inside it? Whoops, not so much of a Mac Pro after all. Of course, you're buying a Mac Pro so you can upgrade it, and you know, professionals buy it so they can add more storage, you know, more graphics card and so on. If they can't do that, then it's not too much of a pro machine, eh? Apple released an OS X update in December, and there was leaks inside it, or coding inside that, for a graphics card which is reportedly heading to the Mac Pro, which is an AMD 7000 series, if I am not mistaken. That was a really strong indication that Mac Pros are on their way. And of course it's going to have a much better CPU. The Mac Pros have a dedicated chipset when it comes to processors. They're really high-end Exon chipsets, and once Intel releases the new ones, which apparently are on track or have already been released now, so it makes no sense in Apple not upgrading their machines pretty much soon. I think WWDC is going to be the time, since all the developers or that market is there. In terms of a release date for the Mac Pros, I think it's pretty much going to be WWDC. Developers are there, and what better way to release a Mac Pro at an event where, you know, high-end developers are there, the community who use these machines are there. Up next, the Mac Minis and iMacs. iMac first. Remember, the iMacs were meant to be released in summer of 2012, but because of display issues and lamination and the glue application or whatever, they got pushed to September, October, and even till today the supply isn't really healthy. So it's safe to say Apple are not going to be updating, or it's going to be right at the bottom of the list in terms of what's coming out this year. So don't expect a new iMac in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. It's most probably going to happen at the same time, the holiday season, October, November, where even when it does come out, it's probably just going to be minor. Remember, the iMac just meant a major refresh in terms of design, so don't expect another major refresh. It's most probably going to have the Haswell processors, which Intel is launching in the June-July time frame. Fusion Drive, I hope, becomes standard. I feel sorry for everyone who's bought a new iMac, especially if they've just had the previous generation and went out and got a new iMac because it was just new. But I wish Fusion Drive was standard on it, because that is the killer deal in the new iMacs. Since installing an SSD on my previous 2010 iMac, it's just so much faster, and I wish I'd done the upgrade earlier. I could not go back to a traditional hard drive anymore, or, you know, the custom ones, and I can't believe they're still using them in the new iMacs. Why not just use Fusion Drives? I guess the technology is expensive, but, you know, Apple, Fusion Drives or Fusion Drive equivalents have been on the market for some time. It's just that Apple named it Fusion Drive, and it's just caused a hoo-ha in the market. But this year it's safe to say Fusion Drives will become the norms, and I hope the same thing goes with the Mac Mini, which will probably get a RAM upgrade or Fusion Drive standard. Processors on the Mac Minis are quite nice, quad-core i7 chipsets for that calibre of machine. Probably going to get a graphics card to update, and of course, needless to say, the Haswell processors, which will be coming across all Macs this year. And the Mac Mini is also going to be made in the United States, either the Mac Pro or the Mac Mini. It's not confirmed which one it is, but apparently it is one or two. And what that means, I hope, is, you know, not higher prices for the Mac Mini or the Mac Pro as a result. But that is it pretty much for everything that I expect to see in the Macs and the Thunderbolt display. There is one thing that I was expecting to see last year, and it never really came. It was the Apple wireless keyboard, a backlit wireless keyboard. There have been some, you know, patents by Apple recently, or in the past couple of months, where they've applied for patents where it can't really be that hard for them to add a backlit key, you know, to the wireless keyboards. It'd be nice. It's something that I use with my iMac, and it's not changed dramatically, the keyboard. You know, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying that it would just be a nice touch. It won't, I can't see it being too difficult for Apple to implement a light, especially because, you know, they're making friggin', you know, thin. Everything is just so thin, and despite that, they're still packing the features in at the same time. So I think it's just a waiting game where Apple, of course, just hold on to the technology, and after 2-3 years then they release it. So I hope this is the year where we see new keyboards. The Magic Mouse I actually quite like. If they can improve on that, hey, be my guest. That'd be pretty nice. But that is it pretty much for everything that it's pretty much in the cards this year. What I'm personally looking forward to the most is a 13-inch Retina Macbook Air. It's pretty much on number one in terms of things I got to buy this year. I've got the 15-inch, it's great, but I still miss my 13-inch MacBook Air form factor, and yeah, I could do with a Retina screen. Once you go Retina, you don't go back. But do you agree? What are you looking forward to? What's on your list this year? See you in the next video. Cheers!